today we're going to see different past verb tenses that you are going to use for writing a story in your first certificate exam, okay? So first, what are the past tenses that you can use when you're writing a story? You know that you have 4, right? You have past simple, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. Today, in this class, we're going to see when we should use them, yes, when each verb tense is used, yes, right, for writing, your story. But first, let's see a bit of grammar, okay? Let's remember the structure of each verb tense. So, let's start with the first one, and it is past simple. Well, you know that the uses of past simple are when actions, yes, happened in the past, but they finished there, okay? So they started in the past and they finished there. Okay, well, let's see the structure first. You know that all the verbs, yes, are going to be, let's say, conjugated for all of the pronouns in the same way. For example, you know that you have regular verbs and irregular verbs. The regular verbs are the ones that you add ed, and the irregular verbs are the ones that are in the second column. You know that in English you have different columns, right? You have the infinitive column, then you have the second column, and then you have the third column. The second column is the corresponding for past simple. If it is an irregular verb, okay? If it is a regular verb, you just add ed. So, and all the pronouns are conjugated in the same way. For example, I can say I visited or I went, or I can say you visited, you went. I mean, they are the same. I, you, she, he, it, we, and they are conjugated in the same way in past simple. When you're going to do the negative form, yes, you're going to, write the auxiliary verb, didn't, and the verb in infinitive. And when you are going to ask a question, you're going to write the auxiliary did, the pronoun, and the verb, okay? That was just to remember a bit of the past simple. Well, now let's go for the uses of past simple. Of past simple. Let's go for the uses of past simple. Well, you have 4. Okay, the first one, completed actions which happened at a specific time. Okay, for example, I went to the cinema last night. Okay, it happened yesterday at night and it doesn't happen anymore. Let's go for the second use. Completed actions and situations which happened over a specific period of time. For example, I lived and worked in Germany for 3 years. That is that now I don't live and I don't work anymore there. Let's go to the third use, habitual actions or behavior in the past. For example, I'm going to give you an example. We played football in the street when I was a child. That is that it was, let's say, a habit that I had in the past, but now I don't play anymore. And the number 4, the fourth use, it is a series of consecutive events in the past. For example, he kissed her, said goodbye, and closed the door, right? So you have like different actions that happened in at the same time, but in a sequence, let's say, right? Now let's talk about the past continuous. You know that the past continuous, yes, is formed by the verb to be and a verb, I mean the main verb is, you are going to add an ing, right? So you know that you have for the past of the verb to be, you're going to conjugate it depending on the pronoun. For example, you have I, she, he, and it. You're going to conjugate the past, the past of the verb to be was. And if you have we, they, and you, that is, it is going to be conjugated with were. Okay, so I was, she was, he was, it was, and then they were, we were, and you were. And then after you have the verb to be, you're going to add the main verb and an ing. For example, if I have the verb visit, it is going to be visiting. So I can say, I was visiting my mother when, I don't know, Carla arrived. Okay? So was visiting or were visiting, it depends on the pronoun, if it is going to be was or were, and the verb with ing, the main verb. If you're going to do the negative form, you're going to say or write wasn't and weren't. And if you're going to ask a question, you know that you have to write was, the pronoun, and the verb with ing, or were, the pronoun, and the verb with ing. That is for you to remember just the rule. But now let's go to the uses of past continuous. We have 4 uses for the past continuous. Let's go for the first one. And it says, temporary activities or situations in progress at a particular moment in the past. Okay, so the action lasts or lasted in this case, let's say a period of time. And I have an example for you. It says, last week we were sitting on the beach. Okay, that action that was sitting, yes, lasted a period of time. Let's go for the second use. And it says, a past activity or situation already in progress when another action occurred. The activity or situation in progress may or may not continue. So, it was happening, or it was happening something, and something else interrupted that action. Okay, so let's go for an example. And it says, I was reading to my son when the lights went out. Okay, so the action, the past continuous is was reading, and another action interrupted that that action. That was, in this case, the lights went out. Went out. Well, let's go for the third use, and it says, activities or situations occurring at the same time. You're going to have 2 past continuous actions. And I'm going to give you an example for this. Anna was cutting the grass while I was cooking, right? Well, and now the last use is the background events in a narrative. Okay, for example, it was snowing heavily and a cold wind was blowing. My brother and I were reading in front of the fire. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Okay, so they are actions that were happening in the background of an event or a story. Now, let's go for the other verb tense, that is past perfect, right? I'm going to tell you past perfect and past perfect continuous that actually it is used almost, in similar situations, and the only difference is that one of the actions, past perfect, for example, was just, let's say, a moment, and the past perfect continuous it lasted, or maybe you emphasize the action that occurred, right? But now let's go for the rule first. So you have the past perfect is formed by, of course, the pronoun. Yes, all the pronouns are conjugated in the same way. And then you have had, and then the third column. Do you remember that I told you at the beginning of the video that you have 3 columns? Yes, in English you have the infinitive, the second column, and the third column, that is past participle. So for past perfect we are going to use the third column, right? So if it, of course, if the verb is irregular. If it is regular, you just add an ed, right? So you have the pronoun had and the verb in the third column. And in the case it is past perfect continuous, you're going to write or use the pronoun, yes, had, then been, and then the verb with ing. Remember that all the continuous forms are with ing. Well, if you want to do the negative form, you're going to write hadn't, yes, in both cases. And if it is a question, you're going to start with had, the pronoun, the verb with in the third column, or with ed, and or been and the verb with ing in the case it is past perfect continuous. Now let's go for the uses of these 2 verb tenses. And the uses of past perfect and past perfect continuous are the following ones. Let's read with me. The first one, show that a past action or situation occurred before another past action or situation. That is, let's think about 2 actions, right? That they happened in the past. Let's say that I went to the cinema yesterday. I went to the cinema and I went to the bank, right? Well, which action happened first? Let's say that it is going to the cinema. So that action that happened first, that one is going to be in past perfect, right? For example, I had gone to the cinema before I went to the bank, okay? So mainly you're going to use, or yes, in most cases you're going to use the past perfect and the past simple together, so you can differentiate which action happened first. Let's go for an example. When I saw Tim, past simple, he had just passed his test. That is that action that he passed the test there occurred first, yes, when I saw him, right? And now let's go for the use of past perfect continuous. And it says, we use the continuous form to emphasize the duration of the first past action or situation. Okay, so as I told you before, it is in order to emphasize the time the person or I had been spending, right? For example, she had been waiting for over 2 hours, that is the emphasis. So I start again. He had been waiting for over 2 hours when he phoned to say he couldn't come. Now, I'm going to give you an activity for you to do in order to practice all the verb tenses that we have already seen. And if you want the answers, then you can ask me, yes? You just tell me, okay, Paola, tell me what the answers are so I can correct. Okay, so I leave you 2 activities, yes, for you to practice. And after you finish, if you want the answers, you just tell me, you comment there, or you send me a direct message, and there I'm going to give you the answers. we have finished with this class. So if you like it, please give me a thumb there and or a like or a heart. So well, hope you enjoy it and you learn from it. Bye bye.